5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
You'll always be a part of me.
Welcome to Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts, a Simpsons review podcast. I'm your lovable nerd Snerts, aka Joshua Stearns, and joining me is the equally delightful Robin. Don't have a cow, coward.
Hello, Josh, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Still looking forward to that bachelor party that's coming up this next weekend. So that's going to be a blast.
Yeah, that's coming right up. That'll be
fun.
fun.
Yeah. Also, our birthdays are coming up.
Birthday trip. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so for folks who don't remember, Robin and I were born one day apart. Many, many years difference there between us. I am the youthful chap, and he is the elder gentleman. But our birthdays are always May 5th and May 6th. So we were partying all the time when you were out here in LA. And
absolutely,
I think we went to Oops Sushi at least twice.
yeah, absolutely. We did the bars in the area. It was great times.
Yeah. Do you have anything upcoming for your birthday?
No, there's so much going on. Like springtime has sprung in Atlanta. We had a big festival this weekend. Next weekend, we've got a bunch of birthdays. My nephew's birthday. And we may do some of mine in there. And then I have some friends taking me out to dinner, and then may do something the following weekend. But there's a million things going on, and then more birthdays. And so it's just kind of a party season over here.
I am exhausted just hearing you talk about it.
I know, me too, a little bit. I'm resting up today, Josh.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, if this is your first episode of Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts, here's how it works. One of us will pick an episode of The Simpsons to discuss. We go through the plot, provide very questionable impressions. can't stress that enough. And point out our favorite bits. And this time I picked from season 7, episode 8, Mother Simpson, written by Richard Appel, directed by David Silverman, with the first air date of November 19th, 1995. So this is going to drop on Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to everybody out there.
Absolutely.
And as we were bragging about the last episode, 2 back-to-back episodes where the Simpsons episode we picked actually has something to do with the day it drops. So
we're getting really good at this. I did another one. I put one on the sheet for later in the year that you'll be excited for.
Excellent. Yeah, that was nice too, man. It's cool, like when we go through our episode tracker and we see it filled in for the rest of the year, and you're like, "Yep, well, I know what I'm doing for the Simpsons in the foreseeable future."
Yeah, it was exciting to put some on that I hadn't seen previously. I've been doing a rewatch since, from like season 16 on. And it's been a lot of fun to find some new episodes. Plus, I've been watching some of the latest season and just trying to get caught up. And
I'm still I think I'm behind season 35, and I haven't seen any of 36 yet. So I don't know. It's one thing when you're doing a Simpsons podcast. Sometimes I don't want to go watch The Simpsons afterwards.
I know. You know what? It's funny. I did a whole watch of. I did a whole rewatch of Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah,
that became like my morning routine. It was watching episodes of that, and then
geez, Rick.
And I finished that, although they're coming out with season 8 soon, and now I started doing it with The Simpsons. I'll watch a couple episodes in the morning, and it's been great.
Yeah, I've been on a Jason Statham kick, and so like we do a Friday night movie group, as I brought up before, and so I got to watch The Working Man, and there's this comedian on YouTube who has this great bit. If you look up like Working Man Statham comedy bit, you'll find him. I apologize, I don't remember the comedian's name, but I love it because it's basically like Jason Statham always has a job, and it's the same movie, and then he'll say the job that he has.
It is the latest one. They just are like, we're just gonna call it a working man. like he's already done this, he's already done that, he's already been the transporter. Let's just call him. How about he's a working man? Okay, let's go with that one.
I'm a beekeeper. I keep bees. Oh, so you want to rob a bank? Are you saying that's a bank job?
I still think by far his best movie was Snatch. I think that is.
Oh yeah, that was the first movie that I saw him in. But
I
like action movies, and we will get to The Simpsons eventually, people. But I like action movies, and his are all the same. Like they are very much the same. But I enjoy him, and he has that badass look to himself, and he's really good at kung fu kicks. I
There you
also
go.
really liked him in The Expendables as Stallone's right hand man.
I never saw that series.
That's pretty good, man. It's dumb fun.
It's very silly. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. You know what time it is? Behind the wiki time. Wick, wick,
Wick,
wick, wick,
wick, wick, wick, wick,
wiki.
Whoop, whoop, wick, wick.
So I was not able to see the DVD commentary for this one because my season 7 DVD set is just fucked. I don't know what happened. Every time I put it into my PlayStation, it goes, fuck off, not playing.
Birthday
Very rude.
present.
Very rude, Sony.
Birthday's coming up, Josh.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of on the fence about it anyway because you have all this stuff on Disney Plus. Anyway, so we don't have the commentary, but we we Behind the Wiki. And so
which is pretty much the commentary.
Which is pretty much the commentary.
Pretty much just type out the commentary. So
yeah, I could do 5 minutes of copy pasting, or I can do 20 minutes of watching the commentary.
Exactly.
So the idea for Mother Simpson was pitched by Richard Appel, who is the guy who wrote the episode, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, who decided to do something about Homer's mother, who previously had only been mentioned once in There's No Disgrace Like Homer, or Home, I should say. The ending shot with Homer gazing in the sky was all David Silverman because that guy is the GOAT and he does things like this. And he thought it was such a nice scene.
Talk more about that at the end.
He thought it was such a nice scene that he didn't want to have any dialogue over it. And when it first aired, there was no promos or anything else. They just let it sit there so people could soak it in. Glenn Close, who was directed by Josh Weinstein, was convinced to do the episode partially because of James L. Brooks. So there's probably some relation there. Mm-hmm. Mona Simpson was designed in a way that should somewhat look like Homer, similar nose, similar upper lip, but also to distinguish her as her own character. And the character was named after Richard's wife at the time. And finally, last little thing of Behind the Wiki, when Mona gets in the van and she does dough, that is voiced by Pamela Hayden because Close couldn't get the dough close enough.
Glenn Close, Oscar winner Glenn Close can't do dope.
Who is phenomenal in this episode. She's a great actress, and it really shines even through voiceover and animation. Like you could tell that is Glenn Close, and she's doing her thing.
I mean, I think that it is such a testament to this television show that the guest, actors that they got to be on this were just the best in the industry. And that's such a gift when you're doing a show like this because, you get that combination of the great talent coming in and really getting into the situation. And it just is wonderful to have Glenn Close do it.
It's also a great way for writers, showrunners, and other people on the staff to meet famous people that they like.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That must be part of the thing. It's like, I don't know. We're a big popular show. Who can we get?
100%.
So we get a no chalkboard, just a couch gag. Once again, folks, these aren't supposed to be ball busting.
So, Josh, there was a chalkboard gag.
No way.
They removed it.
Oh,
I said, I will not snap bras.
Oh.
And it's referenced on the wiki page, but it's not on the episode. So I think they cut it because it was somewhat offensive, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, was that Disney Plus coming with their goddamn censorship again?
Yep.
And
I can't say bras.
Yeah, maybe I do need to get the DVDs. Anywho, so the couch gag is just bowling pins. The family looks like bowling pins. They get set up on the couch. Dun, 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 dun.
That's all we'll say about that.
So we open with Mr. Burns and his employees volunteering in air quotes to clean up the highway. We have a sign that reads, "This highway maintained by Burns O'Dine, the Profit People."
It's a great corporate name right there, Burns O'Dine.
And Burns he's just telling reporters what to do. He's like, "Here's your headline, boys. Local hero shuns spotlight and pitches in. What an angle."
Smithers just like, yeah, do that. It's like getting into his words. Oh, that's a great idea.
He's a good hype
Everybody
man.
should write that headline.
Yeah. If Burns and Smithers were ever in a rap group, he would be the one going like, yeah.
What an angle.
But of course, as soon as the photo is done, Burns removes all the gear and he actually starts pulling trash out of his pockets to drop it on the highway.
So it's like brushing like trash off
Yeah.
of him onto the ground. So.
Yeah. And we get, basically some visual gags. Like there's a frog that was run over with a tire. There's an asylum jacket from New Bedlam Asylum, right? Or straight jacket, I should say. Any of those gags, stand out to you at all?
No, it's all of the the employees from the power plant are now tasked with cleaning up the highway for Burnsodyne. Lenny cracking up. He's like, I can't believe I'm spending my Saturday picking up garbage. I mean, half these bottles ain't even mine.
Yeah. I also think we see Charlie. He must have made it back from that Mideast trip, from the
We
tube.
do see Charlie.
Yeah.
Burns is like, let's have less conversation and more sanitation.
Yeah.
Everybody's griping about it. Yeah.
So folks are like, well, where the hell's Homer? Why isn't he doing this? And he's at the top of the waterfall and he's doing classic Homer, he's up to something voice. Hey,
He's
everybody.
Like,
hope I don't slip on these slippery rocks.
Smithers like, Simpson, stop frolicking and get to work.
That's pretty good. That's a good Smithers line, frolicking. I like that. So then we get a little bit of a back and forth because obviously Homer falls down the waterfall and Carl always says, oh no. Lenny always goes, oh good.
I love when he divides fall, he goes, I'll just walk across these slippery rocks. Oh! And then he's going down. And what is the first one? It's like, oh no, he's going over the falls.
Oh good, that twig will stop him.
Oh no, the branch broke off.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh no, jaggedy rocks or something like that. And
he's like, oh no, the rocks broke his legs and arms. Yeah. Oh good, those beavers are swimming out to help him.
Oh no, they're biting him and stealing his pants.
And then we see, Homer's, corpse lying upside down. Beavers come and just like stripping his clothes off.
And eventually it ends with him going into the turbine and everybody thinks he's dead. And then we get Burns going, Smithers, who was that corpse?
A damn turbine, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Smithers, who was that corpse? And
cheerily, Smithers goes, it was Homer Simpson, sir. One of the finest, bravest men to ever grace Sector 7G. I'll cross him off the list.
Very good. So it turns out
that we see Homer alive and well.
Well, not just Homer. We get Bart and Homer because Bart wants to be in on this prank.
Oh, he's in this prank. Of course he was in on the prank.
I always love it when Homer and Bart team up to do something stupid.
Absolutely.
And
this is a big, he's like, where it's like that dummy worked like a charm, Dad. And we're like,
that's $600 I've ever spent.
Yeah, they're committed to this. Like, they're good at this.
And they did it all so they could have a free Saturday. And you think that they're going to be doing something amazing, but we get this misdirect where they cut back to the house and there's kites flying above. And then they pan down and we see it's Marge and Lisa flying the kites. And Homer is just in a hammock swaying back and forth
there.
And Bart is hitting a hammer against the brick patio
next to the brick
patio. And he's counting. He's like 42, 43, 44. It just looks so boring.
Like the two of them, that's all they're doing is counting and hitting the brick.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is not true. The names have not been changed because that is unnecessary for a fictional tale.
This is a small town, Springfield. Everyday folks doing everyday things, just trying to get by in this crazy world. Like this man, Homer J. Simpson, abandoned 27 years ago by his mother, working a dead-end job for a boss that doesn't even know his name. Trying to stay warm in a cold world, one duff at a time. And who am I? I'm FBI agent Joe Friday. It's my job to silk through the cold along with my partner Bill Gannon. And this is the case of the missing hippie terrorist.
And then we get a classic spinning newspaper alert. And it says, the local man loses pants, life, beaver rescue falls short.
So immediately, the Springfield shopper has reported on Homer's death.
Yeah, breaking news.
Not hours after this happened.
I mean, maybe it was back when they had afternoon editions.
Exactly. It's a throwback. It's a throwback.
And then we hear the doorbell rings, and Marge answers to see Ned and Maude Flanders, along with Helen and Tim Lovejoy.
Yeah.
And they're
Is
here
that
to
his name, Tim?
Yes. Yeah, Reverend Lovejoy is Tim.
And the Flanders is
Yep. And they're doing what good Christians should do, or anybody who are neighbors and
they've
part of a community.
come to comfort Marge because reading the headline, they think that Homer Simpson is now deceased.
Like the ladies have a couple casserole dishes. Tim is holding a newspaper, and Flanders Ned is just Ned. And there's a back and forth here because like obviously Marge is confused.
Flanders is saying our deepest condolences. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to disrespect. But Marge is like, what are you talking about? And he's like, Homer's passing, and she's just staring,
blank stare,
away into death, and she is the best. What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, he's out in the hammock out back, and they go out there and the hammock's empty.
Homer's bolted. Homer and they've been caught.
For whatever reason, they're gone.
Homer and Bart have bolted.
Yeah, and then they kind of like, yeah, of course, we all see Homer in the hammock, Marge. Lisa skips by like, la, 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 la. And Lovejoy's like, here's a card for our child counselor, grief counselor. It was pretty good.
Because Lisa and Marge are not bothered.
Obviously they just saw him a moment ago.
Exactly.
And then in the next scene, you'll notice in the hallway, there's a ton of flowers and like R.I.P. like vases and stuff like that.
Like the big funeral arrangements too.
And Patty and Selma are coming over with a tombstone that says Homer J. Simpson. We are richer for having lost him. What bitches? Good Lord!
I love how it says. The important thing is Homer is dead. We've been saving for this since your wedding day. And Marge's not having it. She's mad. She calls them ghouls. She's like, get out of here, you ghouls.
Well, because they're celebrating her husband's death,
as only Patty and Selma can.
And, the hits keep on coming because the power's cut.
I love it. The guy is out on the line that afternoon. Again, we're hours later, and he's been declared deceased, and the guy's literally cutting the power line to her house with scissors. And she's like, there's a mistake. He's like, no mistake. Homer J. Simpson deceased. The juice stays off till you get a job or a generator. Oh, and deepest sympathies.
Yeah, and it's a classic wise guy voice too. It's like, oh, hey, whoa, hey, oh, all right, hey, come on. Once again, I love.
It's so cold. It's again, it's a statement on America right there.
It is kind of a dick move too, where he's just kind of like, hey, if you get a generator, you'll be fine. It's like,
deepest sympathies.
Of course the house is blacked out, and we get the classic eyeballs only bit. And it starts with Marge and Homer.
I love how Marge goes, Homer, and he goes, that's my name. Marge goes, when I asked you if that dummy was to fake your own death, you told me no. I love that line.
So, of course, he has to get it straightened out, so he goes to the Springfield Hall of Records. Not the good kind of records, historical ones. I really like the signs in this one. All right, so now we get a back and forth with this clerk who's just being a very nice, reasonable gentleman, and we get full-on jerk-ass Homer. And I don't really like this part of Homer. It's funny, but he's an asshole.
He's like, look here, I'm Homer J. Simpson. You guys think I'm dead, but I'm not. And I want you to straighten this out without a lot of your bureaucratic red tape mumbo-jumbo. And the guy's like, okay.
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
I'll just make a change here. You're all set. And Homer's like, I don't like your attitude, you water cooler dictator.
I did like that line. I like the water cooler dictator part. That was pretty cool. And he's like, oh, let me see that file. He's like, of course, sir. Here you go.
Yeah. He's like, what secrets do you have?
Who's this Margaret?
Who is this Margaret Simpson? And City Player's like, that's your youngest daughter. And he's like, it's your youngest daughter. It's your youngest daughter.
Total jerk ass Homer.
But we get to the crux of it is he's like, oh, the file says my mother's still alive and my mother's dead. So this can't be true.
My father told me every time we passed by that, and he points out a window, and it's very convenient that the grave is right there in view.
Right at the top of the
Yeah,
hill,
yeah,
this
and he's
beautiful
like,
stone
that's where my
angel.
mom is buried. Every time we pass by, that's what my daddy tells me.
And it looks very much like a very famous person's grave, of course,
Yeah. And then the clerk is just kind of like, and this is my interpretation of his inner monologue. Well, why don't you go up there and look, you dumb shit? Well, Mr. Simpson, have you ever thought of actually going up there?
Well, he's still being very nice to Homer. He's like, maybe you should go look, young man.
Maybe I'm having like flashbacks of when I worked retail and people are being assholes. Like
Yeah.
Homer is being very demanding.
Ooh, I mean, that will cause trauma, Josh. That'll cause trauma. Kids, avoid retail. If you can afford it.
Well, nowadays they don't. Do they even have stores, or is everyone at the Amazon factory? All right, so Homer goes up to the angel statue, and it's Walt Whitman's grave. Do you know that reference? I don't know that reference.
Of course, Walt Whitman is a very famous poet. But just again, like the Simpsons writers love to take. I mean, he is, he's up there. So you should have some reference here, Josh. Which school did you go to? I'm going to file a report. But
LAUS, duh.
They just take some very, very famous person, and the writers work it in. So of course, Homer, being a lover of poetry, as we've talked about in his historical, he's like, Walt Whitman, damn you, Walt Whitman, I hate you freaking Whitman. Leaves of Grass My Ass, which is one of his famous books.
Okay,
but he's just like kicking the grave because he thought it was his mom's grave the whole time, and so he starts wailing on it with his toes, which looks pretty painful.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. Oh, I know that one.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that in a movie with Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so he basically, after he's done kicking the tombstone, he like turns around. He's like, "Oh, maybe it's that grave, the one that says Simpson on it, but it's the Patty and Selma tombstone from earlier." And he freaks out.
Opened up the grave, but they also purchased for him.
Right. So he falls into the open grave. And that's when we see a elderly woman come up and basically says, like, "Get out of my son's grave." And she's like, "Oh yeah, lady,
you awful man."
Yeah. And then they quickly realize their relationship. Yeah. And so he's like, "I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead." And then we get the gravedigger, who's my favorite unnamed character in this episode. He's like, "God damn blasted. Isn't anybody in this dadgum cemetery dead?" Out pops Mole Man from a nearby coffin. "I didn't want to cause a fuss, but now that you mention it,"
and he just lowered slowly down into the grave,
into the ground.
I mean,
he's talking.
He must have been killed, at least 10 times in just the episodes we've watched. They don't treat Mr. Mole Man very, very well.
Well, maybe there's Mr. Frank, Professor Frank has a clone laboratory of Mole Men.
Oh,
and so every time he dies,
this Frank is a show on its own, Josh.
Frank just pops up a new Mole Man and puts him into wherever he needs to be.
We have missed a great opportunity. We should write the writers immediately.
Spin-off. Frank and the Mole Man. Frank and the Mole Man. Come on, that's perfect, dude. Frank and the Mole Man.
Frank and the Mole Man. Frank and the Mole Man.
Coming this fall.
It could be a murder mystery too. Mm-hmm. So I love the Homer and his mom are getting to know each other a little bit there in the graveyard. His mom's like, "Oh, Homer, you grew up so handsome." And he says, "Some people think I look like Dan Aykroyd."
It's just a very random reference.
It's just a random reference. I mean, I love the random references. It's like Walt Whitman. Like you just toss a little something in there, takes your mind on a left turn. It's just funny.
Yeah, and Mother Simpson, or Ramona, has a little like cloth that she licks, and he's like rubbing the face, like a very motherly, the little kid thing. And it's like, you know what? Don't ask too many questions. Let's just enjoy the moment. And Homer tells us, like, "Well, you should know something about me. I usually ruin these kind of moments." And then a pelican lands on his head, and that's just not enough. It burps up a fish.
And it drops right in the front of his pants, just wiggling.
And you see like the little tail wiggling back and forth.
The tail wiggling is what makes it so brilliant. But it's hilarious.
He's like, "I'm sorry." It's like, "It's okay. It wasn't
so
your
embarrassed.
fault."
Yeah, but that's it. His mom is like, "It's okay. It's not your fault." It's such a little thing, but it's his mom saying, "That happened to you. That's not your fault."
"There's something you should know about me. I almost always spoil the moment." I'm sorry.
That's okay, darling. It wasn't your fault.
And again,
You're
Glenn Close is
okay.
delivering these very simple lines with the motherly
Yeah.
affection.
It's a great thing for a mother to convey.
And so, of course, we go back to the kitchen for the big reveal to the family. Everybody is shocked. Marge is nervous about having an in-law for the first time. Bart wants to cash in on lost birthday and holiday cards, and Lisa thinks it's very Dickens or Melrose Place.
I love the Bart's moments there because he's like, "Where you been, Granny? They freeze you or something?" He's like, "Since you were no show at big moments in the life, you owe me years of back presents, Christmas, birthdays, Easter's, Kwanzaa, good report cards. All right, so $75 a pop plus interest and penalties. You owe me $22,000."
Oh, Kwanzaa, you! Gah, gah, gah. And he starts choking him. Homer starts choking Bart.
How Kwanzaa you is such a good line right
Yeah.
there.
And then I also like how Grandma steps in. He's like, "Now, Homer, be nice to the..." What is the boy's name?
I love that Homer's showing her around and he's like, "This is my room. This is my dresser. It's where I keep my shirts when I'm not wearing them." And she goes, "Oh, yes, right in the drawers." And he's like, "You remembered." It's
So
like,
silly.
it's like, oh, yeah, it's where all people put their damn shirts. This is not a unique to your story here, but.
And we get more bonding, and Lisa and Mona really get along very, very well. And they're sitting on the front like stoop, and they're drinking lemonade, and they're kind of just having a very adult, intelligent conversation because, she's like, I'm very impressed with all your medals. Like, don't be so modest. I also read at a 9th grade level at your age. And then you like the back and forth they had about the author, right?
It's because, Mom is like, although I hardly consider a separate piece the 9th grade level as something we all had to read in school. I don't know if you had to read it.
I didn't have to read that one.
And Lisa's like, more like preschool. And Mona's like, I hate John Knowles. And Lisa's like, me too. Like, people, it's very much a boys' book about Boy Town doing boy things. And,
so we're discovering in this episode my blank spots in my education involves English because I don't know the poet, I don't know the author.
But I like how you were talking about like,
oh yeah, so Homer is doing what a little boy does. Like I would do this all the time if I'm at the pool. I'd be like, "Mom, look at me! I'm going to do a cannonball."
He's like walking on his hands,
and my mom's reading like a book, one of those dime store romance novels or whatever. And she's like, "That's nice, dear." Homer's doing the same thing. Dear. He's up on his hands and he's like, "Mom, look at me!" But like Mona and Lisa are just making eye contact, and they don't, they're just like, "Whatever, Homer, do your dumb thing," and they eventually. Mona goes, Lisa, I feel like I have an instant rapport with you. You didn't dumb it down.
You said rapport. Which is such a great moment between where she's meeting Lisa at the intellectual level.
Yeah.
But then
she
pops up.
Yeah, gotta go. Grandma stuff. I always wanted to know what was grandma stuff. It's you know what I mean? Like I know your bladder doesn't last as long back, the older you get. So at first I was like, oh, she must really have to go.
she going to write a letter or something.
But then we see it was a cop car was the reason that she drove by. And now Lisa is suspicious.
Lisa notices too. We enter the office of C. Montgomery Burns, local tyrant.
Mr. Burns, we understand that you want us to find a woman or acts of hippie terrorism. We have identified her as one Mona Simpson.
Does that name sound familiar to you, sir?
Simpson, eh? Well, yes, now that I think of it. That family has crossed my paths with me many times.
Including a Homer J. Simpson?
Who?
He works for you in Sector 7G.
Oh, do you mean Lenny?
This is a dead end, Joe. Let's move on.
And she meets with Bart in the basement because there's a mystery to solve. So we got to have Bart and Lisa.
Yeah, we have. I mean, this is a quick mystery, but yeah.
And I love how she turns on the dryer and he's like, now no one can hear us talk. What?
Bart's like, what? And then so she turns it off. She's like, all right, we don't need the dryer. And Bart's like, what?
And then we basically explains that like Mona won't explain her past. She got spooked by a cop car. And Bart was like, yeah, when I was going through her purse, I found all these IDs with different names. And we get like Mona Simpson, Mona
Stevens, Martha Stewart, which I thought was a good one. Penelope Olsen, and our favorite, Muddy May Suggins.
Muddy May is the best.
Muddy May Suggins. I mean, that's such a 1920s, like, booze runner name right there. Muddy May, old Muddy May.
And Bart and Lisa aren't the only ones trying to solve the mystery. Marge is too, and is trying to like tamper down Homer's expectations because he's giddy. Like his lovable dog level is turned up to 11.
100%. He's like, I didn't realize how much I missed her and all this stuff. And Marge is like, now Homer, she's nice. And he's like, but I don't think you should be so excited because she abandoned you for 25 years and it could happen a year again.
Yeah, I like how he goes, first off, it was 27 years.
And second of all, she had a very good reason. And Marge is like, which was?
I don't
And
know.
Homer goes,
maybe I was just a bad boy. Nobody loves me.
As a horrible son no mother would want, which is just, I mean,
that's awful.
And he realizes how this obviously affected him, and Marge really feels bad for him. It's like, well, all right, we're gonna go find out.
And I know I like to bring this up a lot, but the lovable dog analogy really seems to fit because he is all over the place. The highest of highs, the lowest of lows.
Yeah,
he's either full on jerk mode or he's like whimpering like a little child. It's kind of crazy. So all 5 members, including Maggie, and for all those wondering, Maggie is accounted for this entire episode. There's no like just her being dropped off somewhere and forgotten and whatever. So they all come up and they're basically kind of like spill the beans. I know you like the line. What does Bart say?
There's a great because she's sitting there reading a book. What was the book? She's reading Steal This Book, which is a famous book back in the day. And she's on the couch and they all woke up and Marge is like, we want to ask you a few questions about your past. And she's like, can't reminisce sleeping. And she just pretends to be asleep.
Which is very much like a Homer thing. That would be like a Homer thing to do. It's like, can't talk now, sleeping.
But Bart, the fellow miscreants, the fellow criminals, like, spill it, Muddy May, or we're calling the cops.
Spill it,
She's
Muddy May.
No. And Lisa's like, oh, well, then we'll call your husband. She's like, no, not Grandpa. I'll talk.
I've wanted to tell you. So then we get a flashback to the 60s, and Homer's playing the board game Operation.
He's like 3 years old.
Did you ever play that game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Did you ever play it?
I played it once or twice and I hated it. Like we never owned it. It was at a friend's house that I would play it at every once in a while. Yeah. And like, so people don't understand the premise is you're supposed to pull out various organs, bones and whatever and not touch the sides. Otherwise you get shocked.
These metal tweezers that you pull up these plastic bones. Excuse me. But the hole is rimmed with metal.
Right.
And you touch it, you get this.
If you get a little shock.
Battery. And it's frustrating.
Because
if you're not that coordinated, I was not that coordinated.
Right, I'm not. Yeah. Maybe I should drink a ton of coffee and try it then and be like, shaky, shaky, shaky. But of course, because this is a cartoon, Homer is like shocked, like hardcore. and Mona,
it's such a good moment where he's like, mom.
It separates him with a broom handle because she doesn't want to touch him. Like they very purposely have
games
not touched directly. I thought that was interesting.
Games are dangerous back then for us. We had lawn darts and everything, Josh.
And we got our cute little Homer asking for him to be sung to sleep. And of course, it's a jingle, and it's the Fig Newton jingle from back in the day. I don't remember that one myself. I think I'm a little too young for that.
It's the one that goes, ooey gooey, rich and chewy inside, golden flaky, tender, cakey outside, wrap the inside in the out. That one, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooey gooey, rich, chewy inside, yeah.
And then it puts Homer like right to sleep.
Sing me my bedtime song, Mom.
Ooey gooey, rich and chewy inside. Golden flaky, tender, cakey outside. Wrap the inside in the outside. Is it good? Doing a big Fig Newton. Here's the tricky part.
And this next scene I think is not something that could be very familiar if people were adults during this time.
Yeah,
you have the man of the house drinking beer, watching football, obviously serving some kind of war. And you have the woman kind of feeling trapped as being the homemaker and like wanting to get out there and just needing that trigger
Yeah, I mean,
to kind of like face their destiny, become their own independent individual versus just like subservient to the husband. And what's the
yeah, and
catalyst for Mona? Sideburns. Joe Namath sideburns.
Well, I was gonna say is that Abe, future grandpa, is just that typical, husband who's in a wife beater with stains on it, drinking beer, watching sports.
Yep.
And and she's like, "Isn't Homer cute?" And he's like, "Probably."
Yeah.
Now pipe it down. I'm trying to watch the Super Bowl. People don't support this thing; they might not make it. Which
I
of
love
course,
that
Super Bowl
joke.
being what it is now. Early on, it was a big endeavor. That
I
they
also like
went
how
out.
he says, John, look at Johnny United's haircut. There's a haircut you could set your watch to.
Well, because so the Howard Cosell comes on and is talking. You know who Howard Cosell is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Howard Cosell comes on. He's talking about Joe Willie Namath swaggering off the field, his sideburns an apogee of sculpted sartorium. And he's just, Joe Namath back day was so handsome. He takes off the helmet and he's got these mutton chop sideburns
they're
going,
huge.
like down to the shoulders there. It's fucking great.
And they also have do a 360 spin with and then we get the acid type colors again, very much like the pod episode we discussed last week. And this is like she's like, I gotta go protest, and she goes to the local college because where else are you gonna go in the 60s to protest the college, absolutely. Right? And she's protesting against the germ warfare laboratory when the H-bomb isn't enough. And of course, it's run by Mr. Burns.
So, yeah, I mean, yes, of course, Willie Joe Namath's sideburns, as we both love, has sent her off.
Correct.
100% 180 into this new life from the moment of seeing his old sideburns, which is great. But they are the typical 60s, 70s like protesters.
Yes.
You've got like the hippies and the one stoner dude and all that stuff.
He almost looks almost like a beatnik too, with their dark glasses and the beret
exactly.
or whatever. Is that what it's called? A beret?
Yeah, it's a bit of a conglomeration there, but yes, 100%. And they've got these great signs like because they're at the germ warfare plant with all these diseases. So it says, take the U.S. out of pus, which is gross but funny.
I also love how Burns is up there and he's like, their flower power is no match for my glower power. And all the hippies run away. and we see a young pimply-faced Wiggum.
That's some good glowering, Mr. B.
That's some good glowering, Mr. B. Oh, Clancy.
So that night, Mona mentions to Abe, same kind of situation as before. He could care less about what's going on, just watching TV. And she kind of goes like, all right, I might be out late tonight, Abe. I'm going to go
she's clearly planning something.
Right. And she's like, I'm going to go meet my destiny. And I thought that was a neat line.
And Grandpa goes, so long.
Yeah. And so the hippies break into a lab and they have an antibiotic bomb with a clock of Spiro Agnew, of all people, on this clock.
Which was a real
vice president
item you could get.
Yeah, it was.
Under Nixon,
that is a real thing.
You could buy this alarm clock with Spiro Agnew's visage on it. It's great.
It kind of looked like the classic Mickey clocks with the hands pointing, for the arms of the clock and whatnot. And one by one, we see the terrible diseases get wiped out: smallpox, diphtheria, typhoid, rocking pneumonia, and boogie woogie influenza. I love.
What was that? That was based on a song. Whose song was that?
Oh, the Boogie Woogie song?
Yeah, no, it's spelled like Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu or something like that.
Okay, interesting. So we get this like classic, movie type scene where the smoke is coming in and Wiggum is running for his life,
blowing up, lets off this whole cloud of antibiotic smoke.
And Wiggum's like running for his life. He's like
billowing through the building. Yeah, it's chasing him down the hallway.
No, wait a minute.
He overtakes him.
Bronchial tubes clearing, asthma disappearing, acne remains, but asthma disappearing. I love that.
I remember this scene more than any other.
I just love the
scene
whole
in
thing
the
of his like
show.
acne and he's touching his face,
It's like
remaining, and
it's
he's got
still
all
there.
right. Hey,
But but him like getting enveloped and it fixing his asthma is such a good. Now
yeah, it's pretty
in the
cool.
wiki, they're apparently it was important to point out that's not actually true. It won't actually
Right.
do
No, it
that.
doesn't do that. No. That is
But
that
there
is
are medications these days. I think
yeah.
they're
Otherwise, my
caught
sister
up
wouldn't
in big
have asthma
pharma over
anymore.
there.
We just pumped her full of antibiotics back then. Yeah, poor
I
gal.
had the asthma. I
Yeah.
love how Mr. Burns runs up and he's like, "My germs, my precious germs, they never harmed a soul. They never even had a chance."
Yeah, and he gets trampled by the escaping hippies and Mona because
He gets trampled after saying, "Whoever did this will never get past me," and
oh
then they
right, and then he
trample
gets
him
yeah,
right
very
over
good.
past him. It's great.
And Mona is a soft-hearted lady, so she stops and is like, "Oh, you poor man, let me help you." And of
Tries
course,
to pick him off the ground.
yeah. Now she's like, dumb move. If you're doing crimes, don't try to help the people you're doing crimes against. I'm sorry. Rule number one.
Exactly. You know what? Let his ass rot.
So
But
Burns like
she's a good person, Josh. That's establishing her
correct.
humanity.
But now Burns knows it's Mona, and that's
Yep.
who's he gonna
He
peg for the crime.
recognizes her.
And he's about to detain her, but then we get the classic door opens quickly and slams him against the wall bit.
And he's like, he's going like, "You'll spend the rest of your life in," and he just smacks him into the wall. He takes some blasts in this episode.
Absolutely, but he's younger, so he can take it.
Yeah, he can take anything. He's immortal.
I like how Wiggum comes out and he's like, "Hey, listen to me, breathe," and he's like,
So then, so then we get the important line is that she's like, Mona's like, "All right, from now on, like now I'm a one fugitive. It's all over. My life is over."
Yeah, and this is kind of confirmed with a news report starring Kenny Brockenstein.
He had not changed his name for the media hour.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Brockenstein
Like it makes it sound like
Ken
he's going to
Brockman.
temple on Saturdays. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And basically, that confirms that she's a wanted person because she's on the news. She gives.
I love how they call her one member of the Springfield Seven.
Yeah,
which
there you
is
go.
an homage to the what's the 8 back in the day?
Dirty Eight.
Yeah.
And so we get this sad moment where young Homer is sleeping and Mona kisses her goodbye forever with a little bit of crying. Cut back to present day, and Homer goes, "I thought I dreamed that kiss."
Very sweet. And Marge is like, "I'm so sorry, I misjudged you, Mom." She's already calling her mom.
And she's like wiping away a tear. Like this really hit Marge hard, and same with the other family.
Protect your family.
Everyone's on Team Grandma now. No, all the like mysteries and everything have been cleared out.
Yep.
And so like she also mentions how she's been living with the underground and got odd jobs here and there. All these went over my head. All of them went over my head.
So she mentions Jerry Rubin, who is a famous protester. Like he did actually eventually have a line of health shakes, and she says she helped him with it. And Bobby Seale, who was one of the founders of the Black Panther, did have a cookbook, which she said she proofread. And then she ran credit checks for Tom Hayden, who was another famous protester back in the 60s. But he did not actually have the Porsche dealership that she worked at. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like who shot Grandpa's hat, right? Like 3 of them are real, and then the last one is just full of shit.
Exactly. His Porsche dealership. He was a communist. He was a communist, so it would have been funny,
Right. And Homer's like, "Hey, how come you never try to contact me?" And Mona's like, "I sent you stuff weekly. What are you talking about?" So we're off to the post office.
Wait. So Homer goes, "Oh, come on, Mom. We use that same line with the kids when they were
sure.
She's like, "But I did. I really did. I'll prove it to you."
And so they're at the post office, and then the person's like, "Hey, they're like, hey, you have anything for Homer J. Simpson?" He's like, "No." Oh, wait. And they pulled out a giant, like, golf bag sized, amount of presents in the parcels.
Santa's
it's huge. Yeah. And the guy is kind of like, "That's what happens when you don't tip your letter carrier at Christmas." And we get Burns is also at the post office because he has to. "Yes, I'd like to send this letter to Prussia, the consulate of Siam, by aeromail. Am I too late for the 4:30 auto gyro?"
And we get Jeremy Freeman, who's always like the teen kid with the pimple. He's like, I better look in the manual.
And while he's waiting for the pimply teen to look in the manual, he sees Mona and he's like, where do I recognize her and in what capacity? And then there's an old wanted
poster with her face on it up on the post office. I haven't seen a wanted poster at the post office in a long time, Josh. I'm not.
Same here. The only time I see wanted posters is when I'm playing video games, to be honest.
Right, exactly.
And so he's like, oh, that's her. Finally, after all these years, I can get back to her. But he's stuck at the post office. There's a little weird bit where he turns around back to the clerk and then he turns around back to the door and he's like surprised that she's gone. She was holding the door open for Homer. Like, it's not like she's just going to hold the door open all day, you know?
Right. Oh. Jeremy Friedman, what was the word? He confused him and they distracted him, saying the book's out of tape because he doesn't see Prussia, Siam, or Autogyro in there. So
yeah,
and like keep looking.
See, I get the Prussia reference, at least. You know what I mean? I'm like not getting references left and right that are literary or about like the 60s movement, but I get this one.
Siam was Vietnam.
It was Vietnam. Yeah.
Where's that a gyro?
That's some kind of plane, I'm assuming, but I don't know about that. But Prussia was like pre-Germany. It was before Germany was Germany. So anyway, Burns we're at his office, and we get the two Dragnet FBI detectives.
We get Dragnet.
The Simpsons love Dragnet, man. Like we've seen it like what in the last like 3 or 4 episodes, Dragnet stuff. Like, right?
Yeah, I agree. We track Homer down to his favorite watering hole, Moe's Tavern.
Homer J. Simpson? Yeah? I'm Agent Gannon. This is my partner, Friday. We wanted to talk to you about your mother, Mona Simpson.
What mother? Never heard of one.
Mr. Simpson, we know your mother was a hippie terrorist with a rap sheet a mile long. We know she was in town, but we don't know why.
Did your mother plot revenge against her accuser, C. Montgomery Burns?
What does Burns have to do with my mom leaving to that commune upstate?
Come on, Joe. Let's roll.
There's many.
Yeah, because like the opening of the Mr. Burns Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 2, right? When it's like the Dragnet theme there. Okay. And then it's not like this. They're more in play for this episode because they're here until the end. But there's always just references here and there. And because we did our fake ad, which is more like a play this round.
Yep.
I started watching Dragnet to kind of get the rhythm of the voices down at the very least, even if I couldn't do a perfect impression. And I have to say, this might be my new rabbit hole where I kind of put this on while playing video games or doing something in the background, or maybe even while doing my day job, because it's amazing. It's amazing.
Successful, massively loved television show for a long time. They were on there, and there was, those two actors, one of whom did the actual voice for the character Joe here.
Joe Friday.
No, for Bill.
Oh no, it was.
It was Joe.
No, it was. Oh God, where is he? Harry Morgan as Bill Gannon. So Joe Friday was played by somebody on the staff, I'm assuming.
Oh, okay.
And then Harry Morgan actually was the second guest star in addition to Glenn Close. It's kind of weird. He's definitely not getting top billing for this episode. Sorry, Harry. Glenn Close.
Harry Close.
Harry.
Anyway. Harry was also in the movie version with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
Oh, okay.
Like the late 80s, early 90s version.
I vaguely sounds familiar, but like I don't really know.
Way back in the day, I remember seeing it. I enjoyed it.
What I liked about it, the first episode I watched was about joints, and they like in the beginning of the episode, they're like, "This is marijuana. This will go about $15 on the street," and it's just like a bag of shake. I'm like, this looks like crap. And these are called joints. They sometimes sell these at 50, 75 cents a pop. And then they go out to the valley in Sherman Oaks to go talk to somebody who's been smoking weed with their kid. And I haven't seen the rest of the episode, but I was hooked. I'm like, this is such nonsense. But I kind of like what they're going, and they're trying to have a moral message here, but it's kind of outdated. I just found the whole thing fascinating. So I might be going down a Dragnet rabbit hole here.
Little
in the
rabbit
near
hole.
future.
Hell yeah.
And in this one, they're not LA cops. They are FBI agents.
Mhm.
And there's some like outdated jokes with Burns using phrenology,
Yeah.
which is where you use the shape of someone's head to determine if they have criminal intent.
Right, their personality, and yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, Smithers is like, sir, that was like debunked like, what do you say, like 600 years ago? Like a long ass time ago.
That was dismissed as quackery. Great quackery reference 160 years ago.
160 years ago.
And Burns
That's
goes,
kind of wild.
Of course you'd say that. You had the brain pan of a stagecoach tilter. Which is we get a lot of another Burns episode. We've done a lot of Burns.
Yeah, we've done a lot of Burns.
I think we're like overlooking maybe some of these great references, like stagecoach tilter.
Well, and also
brain pan of a stagecoach tilter. That'd be a great insult.
I'm kind of losing my endurance for Burns old-timey comments because there's so many of them in the last few episodes we've been doing. And so like I think a lot of them like I'm just kind of getting over it, and like maybe, you know, hopefully down the line we'll get less Burns a little bit. Just a little bit.
Would you say we've been burned out?
Bum bum psh.
Bum bum.
Yeah, it was either that or you put on the glasses like the CSI. Yow! We also get a classic Dragnet bit where Bill is basically like, you know, how does it happen, Joe? How does a gal leave? You have the quote there? I don't have it written down.
It's like, how does what happen? He goes, how does a sweet young lady mortgage her future for a bunch of scraggly ideals and greasy-haired promises? Maybe she thought the war in Southeast Asia was so immoral, her ends justified means.
Gee, Joe, you haven't been the same since your son went crazy in Vietnam.
It's a pain that never ends.
I love that. I love
it gets
that
real serious there real quick, you know?
Well, and that's what they do in those Dragnet episodes. They go on these like long monologues about like what's righteous and, you know, like whatnot. So it totally fits the theme.
The character of Joe is so deadpan, you know?
Correct.
That he never expresses emotion on his face, or very rarely.
The way they draw him too is he doesn't even have eyeballs. Like he's always like squinted. You know what I mean? You never see his peepers.
It's you know, it's great to see the deadpan delivery of since my son went crazy in Vietnam, which would be horrible.
Yeah, of course. So Mona and Lisa are playing Bob Dylan.
How many roads must a man go down? And Homer jumps in like 7?
No, Dad, it's rhetorical.
Homer's like, rhetorical, eh? 8.
Do you even know what rhetorical means?
Do I know what rhetorical means? The reason I love that is because he gives an exact example of a rhetorical phrase right after. She's like, you don't know what it means. He's like, oh, it's a grammar nerd humor.
Yeah, there's a lot of English and literature stuff in this episode for sure.
Absolutely.
And then we get a doorbell ringing, and Bart's like, "Hi, Grandma," and we think it's the cops, right? But it's Abe Simpson busting in the door.
Busting down the door.
Yeah. No one can stop. No door can stop from my meddling.
Exactly.
And then we get a great bit back and forth with Mona and Abe. Do you want to take Mona or do you want to take Abe?
Sure. She goes, Abe?
You've aged horribly.
Oh, no, I like the line before, Josh.
Oh, what do you got?
She goes, what the? Now, here's a piece of bad news.
Oh, there you go. And then, okay. I missed that part. I just started with Mona.
Terribly.
What do you expect? You left me to raise the boy on my own.
I had to leave, but you didn't have to tell Homer I was dead.
It was either that or tell him his mother was a wanted criminal. You were a rotten wife, and I'll never forgive you. Can we have sex? Please?
Oh, Abe.
Well, I tried. What's for supper?
Well, I tried. Oh, he's such a man.
And so the search continues, and we have Burns and the feds talking to a cab driver, and there's a funny bit with the computer aging technology.
he's like, yeah, I might have seen her. It's hard to tell from this old picture. And he's like, well, according to our computer aging program, she should look about 25 years older.
And then they turn the screen around, and it's just the numbers 2 and 5.
25. It's not like an age picture of her. It's just 25.
And the cab driver is like, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That used to mean I've seen her.
Yeah, so they do a little, again, it's just a little grammatical joke where he's like a New York guy. He's like, yeah, I seen her. That is to say, I saw her, and corrects himself grammatically.
Yeah.
And then we immediately cut to the later one, uh, which we'll talk about in a second. And then another guy goes, "Yep, I saw her. That is to say, I seen her." Just
Correct. Yeah.
playing with
All the people who they are interviewing to figure
I
out where
love
Mona
the little
is.
grammatical nerdy jokes in this, Josh. It makes me happy.
Yep, I saw her. That is to say, I seen her.
There you go. And so we're back at the house because that's how we're going to finish this episode. It keeps bouncing between the house and the investigation. So
They're
Mona is
tracking her.
tie-dyeing with his kids. Bart is acting like a fool and just spouting off nonsense 60s, like 4 more years, bomb Vietnam, blah, 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 blah.
He's like all over the place.
He's all over the place. He has no idea what it means. Lisa is still bonding with Mona, and they love each other. They're two peas in a pod. And she no longer feels...
She's like, I don't understand like where I fit into this family, but now it makes sense genetically, frankly,
Right. And she was just, like, oh, I no longer feel adopted, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
And then Maggie has all these like little kid tattoos and in her diaper and is just jamming out to 60 songs.
Do you know
I've seen it before, but I don't know the exact
So
reference.
the reference is Laugh-In, which is the famous show.
Oh, okay.
It's how Goldie Hawn got her start. I believe that's her start. As she would do in between, they'd do dance takes. And she'd have like, peace things painted on her. And she'd just be dancing in between. That's how they went from
that. You say it when it goes to the bum, 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 bum. That part was very familiar. That sound.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she has like ban the bottle on her belly, which is hilarious.
As opposed to ban the bomb, of course.
Right. So the search continues, and they go back to the tombs, the gravedigger in the cemetery. And he's like, yeah, that is to say I saw her. I mean, seen her, right? And then he's like, yeah, there's 2 women. One was sort of attractive and the other kind of plain looking. And they cut to Patty and Selma. And they're putting coffee on what looks to be a table, but it's like, revealed. Well, Selma is trying to get laid.
Selma's in there. She's like, don't you want to play good cop, bad cop? And Joe's like, ma'am, we're all good cops. And she's like, I had no intention of playing the good cop. And Bert's like, dude.
So Burns demands whose name is on the tombstone. And so the camera pans up and we see they're using the tombs that they bought for a coffee table.
For Homer. Now. It's with his name on it.
And we get a dumb Wiggum part where he's reading the name upside down.
He says, put out an APB on your Swiss RDWO. Better start in Greektown.
Chief, that's upside down. His name is Homer J. Simpson.
Cancel that APB, but could you bring back some of them gyros?
Sir, that's your wallet. It's not a radio.
And the wallet, like all the cards flip out in a little plastic insert.
Yeah, that's a very old school thing too. When people have like photos with photos in their wallet, back in the day. Like now that we have phones, we don't need to do that anymore. But yeah, so they're at the house and they're eating dinner, and they're
sort of very. They've got a name now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the family's eating dinner, and Lisa's kind of like, well, why don't you stick around? You can live at Grandpa's house, and then everybody starts laughing.
Extended laugh break of everybody.
And then Grandpa's like, I'm a living joke.
I'm a living joke. But it's important that Lisa's like, and everybody's like, maybe you could settle down. You could actually live here.
Yeah, and Glenn Glenn Close again, he's like, hey, maybe it'd be nice to settle down and not be on the run type of thing anymore. But that's immediately cut off when the phone rings. Yeah.
We enter the commune, but find no Mona Simpson. We talk to an elderly woman named Money May Suggins.
And you haven't seen this woman, Mona Simpson, Miss Snuggins.
Oh, heavens no. This commune would never support hippie terrorists. Thank you, ma'am. Let's get out of here, Bill. Walking back to the car, Bill has to ask.
Joe, we could have asked more questions. Now the trail is cold.
Maybe it should be cold. Cold as a mother abandoning her son. Cold as the beer he drinks to forget his loss. Cold as the cooling towers at the nuclear plant. Cold as the heart of the local tyrant.
Geez, Joe, this got dark quick. How about we get some ice cream?
Ice cream is also cold, and I'm lactose intolerant.
Well, that's just awful.
It's a pain that never ends. And Homer goes, I love this line. She goes, Mom, there's nothing to be alarmed about, but could you take one last look at the family and join me in the kitchen, please?
And the law enforcement continues to grow. So Burns now has a tank and more agents.
And they're all converging on the Simpson household.
Correct. And he puts on a tape and he's like, I've been waiting for this for so long. And it's Flight of the Valkyries, which is the classic.
Which the classic scene from what's the movie that's from? It's from Apocalypse Now, the famous beach scene when they're flying in. And then, of course, it changes very quickly to Waterloo. A gay anthem, by the way.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, sir. I must have taped over that. And he's just glowering.
Just the nastiest look. It's great.
Side eye. Yeah. Yeah. So the feds bust through the door. The jig is up. And Abe is like, all right, I did it. I'm the Limburg baby. Wah wah goo goo. I miss my fly dad.
We get the great line from Joe there.
Are you trying to stall us, or are you just senile?
And Grandpa goes, a little from column A and a little from column B, which is the line that I most remember from this whole episode.
Nice.
I've used that a billion times in my life. When somebody says, like, are you drunk or stoned? a little column A, little column B.
I always think, too, of the Aladdin song, Friend Like Me, have a little bit of column A, have all of column B. But anyway, so Homer and Mona made it out in time, and they're basically outside of town at a payphone, and Wiggum's the one who tipped him off because he remembered that Mona helped cure his asthma way back in the day. And the Simpsons do this from time to time where someone's about to reveal some kind of big secret to Homer or another character, and before they can
Homer's going on, he's like, who is this anonymous tipper? Who are you? Why did you help us? And so Wiggum starts to break it down like he's going to tell him. And he's like, just think of me as an anonymous friend who rose through the ranks of the Springfield Police to become Chief Clancy Wiggum.
Click. And yak.
It's like yak.
And then we get a tearful goodbye between Homer and Mona. Mona's line that I liked, it says, remember, whatever happens, you have a mother, and she is truly proud of you.
And then you get the hippie in the car going, oh, hurry up, man. This electric van only has 20 minutes of juice left.
And Mona bumps her head while getting in and says, dough.
Well, there's my ride. The underground awaits.
At least this time I'm awake for your goodbye.
Oh, Homer. Remember, whatever happens, you have a mother, and she's truly proud of you.
Oh, it's great because she's like, Homer's like, don't forget me. And she's like, don't worry, Homer. You'll always be a part of me. And then, yeah, she's the one that gave him his famous dough. Josh.
There you go. And then the episode ends, as we talked about at the beginning, with Homer sitting on the roof of his car looking at the night sky as the lovely music plays. This is now a meme used whenever a celebrity dies. It's always like fast on the social media. As soon as
poignant.
It's very nice. Yeah.
Poignant imagery. When she drives off, he stands waving at her even after she's gone and just keeps his arm raised. And then he just drops it to his side. And you can just feel, the weight of, now he got to say goodbye to his mother and got to know his mother, but now she's been taken from him again. And you feel this, and it's very sad. And Homer contemplating the cosmos with it is truly moving. Truly
well,
moving.
And kudos to David Silverman for having a totally silent, no promos, no cutting from the credits right away. Like, let people sit with that emotion. And it's good. And there's a reason it's used every time somebody dies who's been popular, because it's a lovely send off to somebody. So, all right. Well, Robin, do you hear that sound?
What's that, Josh?
It's the
Crusty
Brand
Brand Seal of
of
Approval.
All right, well, I picked this episode, so I'm going to go first with my final thoughts and score. Mother Simpson is a sentimental episode, to state the obvious. There are plenty of jokes, but the focus is on the family and their lost relationship with Mona. Homer's big lovable dog energy goes up to 11. The kid's connection to the spirit of the 60s is cute. Lisa's intelligence, Abe's loneliness, Marge's uneasiness, all very relatable and sweet. Frankly, as you've been hearing throughout this episode, a lot of these references went over my head. Literary stuff from the 60s. You know, I'm a history buff, but I guess I don't know the 60s that well.
Apparently.
And I'm like, wow. And like I said, in big notes, I like, wow, they really love Dragnet. And Mr. Burns is the perfect foe for this type of setup. So that all makes sense. I also like Wiggum doing something right for a change, and he actually like succeeded. He didn't fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I enjoy this episode, it really rarely comes to mind when talking about my favorites, nor is it in the regular rotation. I recognize its excellence and place within the legacy of The Simpsons, but it's a 3 out of 5 for me.
All right. Robin, why don't you go?
Yeah, go, buddy. It's usually how this works. I go and then you go, and then you go and then I go.
Josh, usually like, Robin, what is your take? But no, you just went silent on me, Josh.
I was putting the number in the score tracker.
So I feel like this is a canon episode. Obviously, this is where we meet Homer's mom and why she wasn't there. And I love that it is a comedic story that really brings you into a sweet place. It's quite poignant. You know, we get a look at Homer's formative events in his life, but there's also a lot of really funny moments in this that I think really plays against the poignant side of it so well. And it sets up some of what the Simpsons are trying to do to work in some humanity into the characters. I think that's an important part of what this episode and episodes like it bring to it. And so I give it a solid 4. Because of that, I think that the poignancy of it is I love. I really relate to the feeling that they're trying to convey there at the end. And so, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Cool. Well, that's a wrap for Sacrilicious with Robin and Snerts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're feeling generous, then please leave a 5-star review with a few sentences. We are currently on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So obviously this episode is dedicated to all the moms. So we got my mother, Lori, my godmother, Grace, my aunts, Barbara and Eileen. I'm just calling out the old ones, but all the moms holding it down, kudos to you. Keep up the good work. And especially to Dr. Moxford's mom, who I hope is the raddest of them all.
The doctor's mom.
Do you want to hear more from your old pal Snerts? Then check out the PlayStation Experience on your podcast platform of choice. I can also be found on most of the things at Lord_Snerts. Robin, outros and plugs.
I also want to give a shout out to the moms. Shout out to my own late mother, Kathleen Cowart. She was a brilliant woman with a wonderful, wicked sense of humor. She loved the silliness of British humor, like Monty Python. We always watched like the Christopher Guest movies, Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman as a family. She taught us to love intelligent, cerebral humor, as well as like clever silliness, which is what the Simpsons really capture. And I'll always be grateful for her sense of humor, and it set me on my path. And but a shout out to all the other extraordinary moms in my life: Paula, Catherine, Emily, Kat, my godmother, my cousin and my godmother's mother, Chelsea, Kit, and Alice, who both helped raise me, Ramona and Terry, and a special shout out to one of my best friend's mothers who recently passed away, Karina. She leaves a mom-sized hole in this world, and she will be missed.
Well, yeah, that's very lovely tribute, man. I do, as you were saying all those nice things about your late mother, I do wonder if this episode's going to hit different when my eventually passes. I wonder if like the sentimental stuff will hit me at a 4 instead of a 3. But anyway, for now, it's a 3. And our goal is to get the next episode out on May 25th. Robin picked Funeral for a Fiend from season 19. So Robin, hit me with that sweet, sweet quote.
Are you trying to stall us, or are you just senile? A little from column A and a little from column B.
Perfect. So until next time, folks, smell you later, true believers.
You'll always be a part of me.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.